But yeah, I'm kind of. I think like the biggest surprise for me was that they didn't touch freeze, but they probably have some sort of plan against it,
Yeah.
so it's probably gonna be fine.
Okay. Ray?
A lot of people in chat are saying Divine Favor. I actually don't mind them keeping Divine Favor
Really?
as
Oh,
is. I
oh,
actually
Me
kind of like
neither.
that card. Um,
oh,
like,
I
is
hate
the
that
only
card.
card in the game. It's the only card in the game other than AOE spells that um, has counterplay, which is I think counterplay makes for is like it's like a quality that makes for a very good video game. And in Hearthstone, the only real counterplay we have is, do I want to play more idiots on the table to walk into AoE, or do I want to hold back some idiots? And Divine Favor actually makes you think about playing cards in less efficient ways in order to make a card in their deck worse,
Okay.
which I think is actually a nice dynamic to have. And it's really hard to do in a card game like Hearthstone where you can't play spells on the opponent's turn. So
Okay.
that's
That's
like
fair.
one thing the card brings to the table. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, I understand why like the average player will want to they'll have their hand full of
Yeah,
draw.
announced, and maybe a lot of them tomorrow, given that they have the big stream tomorrow. Do you guys think that they're going to reveal all the cards tomorrow, or just save
I
some to
think it'll
surprise
be a
us?
card dump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
just a
they'll
card
reveal
dump.
them all. I hope
Okay.
they do.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got some cards to go through. We're going to try to get through these a little bit faster than we normally do, but why don't we try to kind of knock these out real quick? All right, Yoxaren. So another old gods here. Hope's End. 10 mana, 7/5 body. Battlecry. Cast a random spell for each spell you've cast this game. Targets chosen randomly. This seems like a content maker's dream, and maybe a lot of them tomorrow, given that they have the big stream tomorrow. You guys think that they're going to reveal all the cards tomorrow, or just save
I
some to
think it'll
surprise
be a
us?
card dump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
just a
they'll
card
reveal
dump.
them all. I
Okay.
hope they do.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got some cards to go through. We're gonna try to get through these a little bit faster than we normally do, but why don't we try to kind of knock these out real quick? All right, Yoxaren. So another old gods here. Hope's End. 10 mana, 7/5 body. Battlecry. Cast a random spell for each spell you've cast this game. Targets chosen randomly. This seems like a content maker's dream. That's the first time I saw this. It was just like, oh my god, crazy plays, right? But Reynad, what do you think?
If they're gonna make like high RNG cards, this is the perfect way to do it. It's stupid and expensive, and we'll never see competitive play, and I love it. Like, right? But
Yeah.
if it's a minion SE turn two every single time I queue a game of Hearthstone, then there's a problem. But with this, it's okay. I think most of the time it's just gonna kill everything on the board. And I guess there's a bit of an interesting dynamic where sometimes you won't want to play too many spells before you play it because then you'll just end up drawing the game. But yeah, it'll be cool to see how it plays out. I can't even really imagine what it'll like feel like right
I
now.
know.
So.
You won't know until you actually play it like 10, 20 games. Noxious, what do you think?
Yeah, well, it's just the type of card that I love,
This
right?
is right
It's
up
just
your alley,
like
totally.
it's where I look at like cards like Flame Juggler and whatnot. Like those are the RNG cards that I don't like too much. Even to an
Yeah.
extent, Thought Steal I kind of sometimes dislike given the control metagame. But this is just fine. Like it's just a complete joke. But it doesn't try to hide it, and it doesn't try to be competitive. I
Mhm.
can get behind that kind of RNG. So I don't know. I wish they'd embrace that every single time. You know,
Yeah.
I wish.
Okay. Amnesiac, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying really hard to think of if this could ever be competitively viable, and it would have to do with like some sort of like average and like what actually happens if you play like 30 spells or whatever. And it's just not, I don't think. I think it's hilarious. I'll definitely like play with it once I get mad about losing to something. But yeah, I don't think it sees competitive play. I can't imagine it seeing competitive play.
Does it even matter that it's a 7/5? Could it be like a 12/12 or anything like that? Would that change your mind
If
at
the
all?
effect was strong enough, it could be a 1/1, right? Like the body doesn't change anything.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be good, right? Like, there's a chance it is good. Like, people have run some simulations, and it's
Yeah,
like,
Trump's done it, right?
I mean, like if you push the amount of spells that you play in a game, you can technically get ahead pretty severely.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it'll happen often enough to be worth it. Like, are you gonna take that coin flip instead of playing just a deck that wins without coin flips? That's
Yeah.
kind of the question. How ballsy are you?
Okay, let's see. Next up, we got two. I'm gonna kind of go two and three at a time. Yeah, we got two non-class cards here. First off, we'll talk about the Twilight Summoner for drop 1/1 body, Death Rattle summon a 5/5 Faceless Destroyer, and it's an epic card. Uh, Noxious, why don't you start?
Um, well, I feel like that kind of makes that new 5 drop for Hunter interesting. But if Shaman's good, then do I play this? My answer is no. I just I'm just scared unless I can
Right.
trigger it right away. It
Earth
just scares
shock.
me to play a 4 mana 1/1 into Shaman.
Yeah.
Just doesn't feel good. And as long as Cabal Shadow Priest exists, late game it sucks. It Priest in the meta game. So yeah, it's just one of those possibly failed experiments that might just be insane in the right shell.
Yeah.
I just don't see it yet.
Okay. Amnesiac, playable or no?
It's kind of like a 4 mana 1 or 4 mana 5/5 rather, with like kind of belated deal 1, and then it has like 2 turns of summoning sickness because your opponent's never gonna kill it. So then you just have to trade it in, and then you can't attack with your 5/5. So I think it's pretty bad. I didn't think about it with the 100 mana 1/1 in your deck, so it's probably not good. Yeah, I don't see this card seeing any play.
Okay, Ray.
It's most of the time it's only going to be 1 turn of summoning sickness because most of the time your opponent will have a knife juggler. But
Oh,
I
man.
don't think it's competitive play, to be honest. A little too slow.
Okay. That was funny. Okay, next one. Shifter Xeris. 1 mana, 1/1 body. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a random minion. This is a legend card. This is one of my favorite cards. I wouldn't say it's my favorite card, but it was announced pretty recently, and I think it's fascinating. What do you guys think? Noxious.
Sorry, which one?
Oh, actually, no,
I'm
sorry, it's
so
Amnesiac.
out.
I'll let Amnesiac start with this one. Amnesiac.
Go
The
ahead,
Shifter
Amnesiac.
Xeris.
Take
Shifter
it.
Xeris.
Oh yes.
So I think where this would see, if it saw play, it would be as like a kind of flexible control finisher.
Mhm.
Because like you could theoretically hold on to it for forever until you did RNG your way into a good ability coming in that maybe you RNG your way into a 4-drop, but that's like a lot of hoping and not a lot of consistency, so I don't really think that works.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this sees very much play unless like the odds work really well over the course of a game, but I don't think they do. So I don't think I would ever play this card.
Okay, Ray.
It's a really cool card, but as far as it being playable, basically it has to be in a very, very slow deck. I don't think it ever is playable, but if it was, it would have to be in like a slow control deck, like Control Warrior or
Yep.
something. And it works like the card I would compare this most to is Bolvar because
Wow.
it gets most value. It gets more value the longer it's sitting in your hand because every turn it sits in your hand, the odds of hitting like the right minion for the situation increases.
Mhm.
So if it's in your hand for like 10 turns, one of those 10 minions is going to be a pretty good play for the situation. Maybe you get like an Acidic Ooze or Harrison Jones or Mind Control Tech. There's like so many different things you can hit that could just be blowouts.
Yeah.
Or just like a strong on curve minion like a Sylvanas or something. But then if you just draw it off the top of the deck, it's garbage. And then if you draw it and then you only get one random minion, like you want to play it the turn after you draw it, it's still probably garbage because you only rolled one random guy. So it has basically to get maximum value, you have to be playing a slow deck and it has to sit in your hand for a long time.
Mhm.
And it probably won't. Like a lot of slow cards are actually kind of pushed out of the metagame by Elise because Elise is a reasonable minion that ends the game on its own and it only can cost you one deck slot. So that card will kind of push out wacky finishers like this, I think.
Okay.
Interesting.
Nox.
To me, I was looking at this as like another forbidden shaping in Priest, kind
yeah.
of, right?
I mean,
Because you kind of keep waiting until. The thing is, like, there's no guarantee that you ever get anything you need, right? So you might just
Yeah.
keep getting wisps, or have the shifter become shifter. But yeah, like I was okay with just the card existing. This is the type of RNG that I'm okay with as well because it's unstable portal like, but you don't get a discount on it. And I thought the discount portion of unstable was what made it absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
If you made the card just like anything, like just the fact that there was no discount, that there was a discount is what made it aggravating. Whereas this is perfectly fine. Like I don't mind getting taken off guard by the random Dreadsteed that my opponent gets. With it, I don't know. It just seems fun in that
Yeah.
that scenario.
I'm so desperate as a priest player right now for minions that aren't dragons that I would actually consider playing this. Just because
I'm playing this, dude,
it's
all day,
just to get a
every
2 or
day.
3 or 5 or something. I mean, that's something that actually gets battle cry value. That's how desperate I am right now. Okay,
It could
let's.
see play off of Dark Peddler in niche scenarios, like
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
That's like the one case where I think it might see play.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
That's true. Okay, next up, let's go. All right, so 2 more non-class cards. We got 9 mana Sogoth the Slitherer. It's a legend card. 5/9 taunt, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So this card actually has had a lot of discussion in the community. A lot of folks disagreeing on it and whether this is, you know, not good enough for a 9 drop, but at the same time, it's got really cool text that makes it very hard to remove. Reynad, what do you think?
Yeah, it was pretty cool to stumble upon this card. I was just going about my day shopping for some fashionable clothing over at TempestRun.com when they happened to reveal this card. It's cool. I don't know. I think that with Ironbeak getting nerfed, it isn't like the whole silence thing isn't as big of a deal as people think when it comes to this card. I think that as far as like topping out your curve alongside a Cenarius, if you want like 2 9 drops, this might see play, but it's a really hard card to evaluate because it's the kind of card that's either just straight unplayable or like pretty good, depending on like what the metagame looks like. And until we see every single card in the set, and I can like lay out what archetypes are getting played, I can't really say for sure whether this is good or bad, but it's like it has potential. It's just really hard to evaluate right now.
So I mean, just for discussion, compare this to an Ancient War. You know, that's 7 mana. Is the untargetable worth 2 mana?
War.
Depends who I'm
Ancient
playing
War is
against.
pretty nuts, but this is neutral. It's a big difference. Like you might want to play this in Control Warrior or something like that, because it might just be a scenario where there's not enough good answers. Like Blade Flurry is a card that would have been good against this. That's not in the game anymore. There's just I don't know, man. It's so hard to evaluate. Like there's Force of Nature combo leaves, so it's like less important to have a taunt like this, but it's still if you play this and it survives a turn, it's so stupidly strong. I don't know.
Pretty stuff. I mean, they pretty much have to crash stuff into it. I mean,
yeah,
forever,
Yeah,
for a long
exactly.
If it
time.
lives a turn, you got to spend 10 mana to kill their minions and trade other stuff and keep your big taunt alive. Because if they can't deal with it the first turn, then they probably can't deal with it ever, right? So it seems like a card that could be pretty good for locking out the game. And this might be like a sleeper card like Dr. Boom or something, but not as strong probably. It's interesting though for sure. I don't know. I would say it's playable but niche playable. Would be my guess.
Noxious?
Yeah, you were talking about the discussions that people had about the card. I'm actually on the side that this card is actually really good. Whereas a lot of people seem to dismiss it as another Gruul. I'm like, this is not remotely comparable.
Gruul? Wow.
It doesn't seem like... Yeah, no, some people have been starting to say it's like another boogie monster. Which, no, like, whatever. It's just another garbage legendary.
That's what you meant. Okay.
To kind of fill up the packs. And I don't see that. Like, I feel like right now, Druids are looking pretty good on the ramp side. Now it's all going to come down to whether or not I want to run ramp with 2 roars or ramp with just ramp. Because if I want to run just ramp, like, I'm okay with this. I'm more than okay with this, actually. Like, after the taunt, like, if you've dealt with Driller Claw and you've dealt with my Dark Arakoa and my Ancients of War and whatever 8-drop I put in, and this comes down, like, you're out of Black Knights, you're probably out of removal. Like, whatever the hell you've got is probably out. So this is going to lock me up into safety to where I can probably just drop some retarded stuff on the following turn.
Okay.
So,
all right, Amnesiac?
I think it just really has to do with what's being played in the metagame along with it. Like, if people are expecting this card and you're seeing a lot of, like, Keeper of Uldamon and Black Knight, like, obviously it's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
But, like, if people aren't prepared for this and then you whip this out against their aggro deck that doesn't run Silence because everyone cut Silence or something, like, this card will win you the game.
Yep.
So I think it's, like, surprise factor. It seems like a card that kind of goes in and out depending on what the metagame is. Or maybe it's just good enough to see play, or maybe it's just too bad not to. I don't really know.
Yeah,
it's hard to evaluate. It costs 9. That's a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of 9 drops and 10 drops now that are being added to the game, but that's a good point though. It's going to be, I kind of see it similar. It's going to be in and out of the meta game, just constantly as things ebb and flow. Right, this will make it in, and same with Black Knight and those guys.
can you imagine that world where like the guy plays Aviana and ramp, and instead of going old gods, he just plays this and double faceless after an innervate, and you're just like, oh my god. What do I do? I could see that already happening.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that it's like such a simple design, like taunt and untargetability, but it's still so hard to evaluate.
That's what's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
it's beautiful that way. That's cool.
It's really
Like
good
Special
design.
Night when you taunt it up, man, it's such a nightmare. Like you don't know what to do in arena at least. I don't know about anybody playing that in constructed, but like it's just there's no good counter to it right now.
Yeah. All right, Deathwing, Dragon Lord, 10 drop, 12/12 to dragon, obviously. Legend, Death Rattle, put all dragons from your hand into the battlefield. Okay, so this one is, similar to some other cards we've seen with maybe, Death Rattle and just with N'Zoth and again, they always compared to Varian, that type of thing. What do you think, Noxious?
It's actually really tough to evaluate because one of the things that I like about this guy is that if you can somehow get a copy of him in your hand through duplicate,
Yeah.
like how does that work? Do you actually drop two of them on the board right away? Like I haven't looked at the exact ordering of it, but if you do, then
Oh,
oh
wait.
god,
Wait,
that's gonna be fun.
so you
What?
drop what on the board immediately? It's a Death Rattle, right?
Oh,
Oh.
well, yeah, when it dies. So if duplicate puts two copies in your hand, do
Yeah.
you right
Oh,
away
duplicate.
drop
Oh,
the other
duplicate.
two?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, duplicate. Yeah. But yeah, like the metagame has to be super slow for this to even make sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, would this
like,
fit in
I
any
don't
dragon
know, like
deck?
so maybe you'd like I don't know, maybe you'd play that in any dragon deck where you're like, I'm never gonna have mana to play any of these dragons ever, so I'm gonna play this one dude. So
So play a bunch of big dragons basically in that
well,
type
no,
of deck.
put them in your deck, but don't play them. So it just seems a little counterintuitive.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Amnesiac, how about you?
Oh, when I read this card, I thought it was a battle cry, and I was trying to think of how it was playable then, because there aren't
Yeah.
really like, are there dragons you can pull out that are like good,
There's
like
dragons
Yeah,
that
that's
have
why people
charge and
keep
stuff?
comparing it to Varian and stuff like that. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't quite, see that.
Well, yeah, at Death Rattle, I don't think this ever sees play. I didn't think it seed play even at Battle Cry, but yeah, this seems way too slow. Like, not be dead. You have to play this card, and then you have to kill it off somehow, and they're never going to trade into it. Like, the only time this would be good was where they had to kill it because you're threatening lethal with the damage, and then you're playing your 10 drop deck and you're threatening lethal on turn 10 or something. So it's like, it's just a lot of lining. I don't think this card sees any play.
Yeah. Ray?
It's a really flashy, cool card. I like when they add big finishers like this that, like casual players really get excited about, and they'll open it in a pack, and then they'll want to build a dragon deck. Like, it's cool that cards like this exist. As far as like whether it'll see competitive play, it will never see competitive play ever at all for any reason. Card is just stone unplayable, but it is very like I like seeing big flashy designs like this because these are the kinds of cards that like players get excited about. Things like this, Varian Rin. There's just
N'Zoth.
other cards.
Yeah.
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 Don't touch that. Just get a bunch of
Okay, well,
dragons.
let's get into some of the class cards now. We'll start out with Druid. Dark Arakoa, 6 mana, 5/7 body, taunt, battlecry, give your Cthulhu +3/+3 wherever it is. Amnesiac, why don't you start off here? This one.
6 mana 5/7 taunt. That's not like too weak to silence. Already sounds pretty playable to me. So I mean, if there's a Cthulhu like taunt Druid deck, I think this definitely makes its way in. Because like I already play Sunwalker if I'm gonna play Ramp Druid sometimes, and this card's pretty on par with that. And like it's not even that much worse than Master Jouster without having the downside of like maybe just losing you the game. So it's like fine on its own, and then if it's going in a Cthulhu deck where theoretically your cards have to be weaker so you can have this bigger, stronger card at the end, like is going to be really good in that deck.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this card seems really good. If there's a Cthulhu Druid deck, this card almost 100% sees play in it, unless it's just like really, really aggressive.
I mean, the Druid's looking like the lead candidate for a Cthulhu deck, right, guys? Or what do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I think that's what they're trying to push.
I mean, right? I mean, it's like
the best minion.
they're
is
so much.
just
They're so
their
much better than
field.
all the other class Cthulhu cards. So it's kind of strange. Ray, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, it's solid, good card. Yeah, I expect to see Cthulhu Druid to be a thing, and seems like a solid card to play.
Okay, Nox.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'll just end it at that. Yeah,
Nox.
the rest of it was gonna be filler.
Say, like, if Shadow or Death and Tomb and Black Knight didn't find targets, now they do. It's just one of those cards that you're like, okay, so against a priest, I don't want to play it, but I have to because the stuff that comes in later is even bigger.
Yeah.
And you can just keep dropping big taunts one after the other, and
It's
that's kind of like,
crazy. Yeah.
it's kind of critical mass with this guy. Like, it's critical mass because you just start dropping taunts at every turn, and even though Sunwalker looks good on 6, it still doesn't reach that 5 damage threshold. That I feel like once you break it, you're opening up so many minion kills with it, and the fact that it's just above 6 health also means a ton of stuff just doesn't kill it outright, even with pings. So it's just, I don't know, it feels really incredible. We'll have to see how it actually pans out.
Yeah, Druid's got. I mean, I can think of what 8 or 9 taunts now. Like I'm not even thinking about just all the jousters and the Sunwalkers too that we've been seeing, and some
Oh
of the
god.
ramp druids. So it's gonna be Black Knight's coming back, man. That's for sure. If these kind of decks start getting popular. All right, next up we've got rogue cards. So 5-drop. Shadowcaster, epic card, 4/4 body, battle cry, choose a friendly minion, add a 1/1 copy to your hand that cost 1. So a little bit different than the faceless variations that we've seen. Reynad, what do you think?
Um, man, it's okay. So the deck that like the archetype that Rogue will kind of naturally gravitate towards should be Death Rattle one because the Death Rattle minions have like the highest upside and they're kind of strong.
Yes. Yep.
So in a deck that's playing sticky Death Rattle minions, it's not unreasonable to have like a Harvest Golem or something in play that you can copy with this. In that case, it's pretty reasonable. It does have a pretty big drawback in that, if you're behind on board, it's like a blank. You really don't want to play a 5-mana 5/4, so you kind of have to have the board. But that might not be too unlikely with the new minions that we're getting. But then again, they are rotating out the Death Rattle minions that replace themselves on the board, and they're replacing them with Death Rattle minions that give you cards in hand, which is I actually like that as a design decision. So there's less Haunted Creeper, less Shredder, Nerubian Egg, but we are getting things like, what's he called, like Zathrid or whatever, that gives you the good spell cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Zariel,
4-drop.
yeah.
He has a real and Huckster.
Yeah, like
Tomb
yeah,
Pillager,
Zariel,
2
we get a 2-mana dude that gives you spells. So you're getting like Tomb Pillager gives you a coin. So your Death Rattle minions are giving you cards in hand. So they might still. This card might be not good for that reason, basically, because your minions that are dying aren't replacing themselves on the board. So it's easier and more likely to have an empty board for both players. So I don't know. It's like a card that might see play, but it's going to depend on what 5-drops compete with it, I think.
I mean, one thing that you're talking about Death Rattle for sure, and I think that's generally the type of minion that's been good for these cards that copy, or in summon or that sort of thing. But this card's actually neat because you actually get Battlecry value too. Like you can actually take a look at the Battlecry ones if they're powerful. Like if Healbot still existed, for instance, right? You get a one mana of Healbot, which would be pretty awesome to if situationally, right? That's the
Get 2 brands.
yeah,
Oh my God.
two brands, right? Noxious, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the whole, like, if you're gonna play it for tempo, like in the tempo rogue list, I don't think it's gonna do as much as you might like, because of the whole, minions don't stick on the board. But if you're playing it in the combo list and you're hitting one combo piece, you're good to go. Like, you don't need to hit much more than what, like you can have Bran reduced by Emperor, or any one drop reduced by 1, and then suddenly you can just drop a double Cthulhu. Just like you copy Brand twice, you use them for healing sometime late game, and then you keep the 1-mana one to hit later with another god, and then you just double doing them. It's mostly gonna be, I think, it's gonna be tried by a lot of combo players. I think more so than the ones that want tempo.
Yeah. All right, Amnesiac, Mr. Rogue here. What do you think?
I mean, the cards that came to mind for me were SI7 Agent and Edwin Van Cleef. This card's good with Edwin for sure, and it's good with SI. Like Edwin, I don't know. Edwin doesn't live all that often, so that's kind of optimistic. And you'd need more support, obviously, than that. But this card definitely has potential because Rogue does have some solid cards that like 1-mana 1/1 versions of would be good. Like a 1-mana 1/1 combo deal 2 is like a very large swing in some games. And the problem, I guess, would be that Rogue minions don't live that often, and Rogue already has good 5-drops. It already plays Azure Drakes, it plays Lotheb. I guess Lotheb and Belcher are rotating out, so maybe this takes the spot of some of those.
Yeah.
But I think the card has a lot of potential. It's really interesting, but it sees play depending on the rest of the set. I think it does or doesn't see play.
Okay. Moving on, Thistle Tea, 6 mana spell. That's a rare card. Draw a card. Add 2 extra copies of it to your hand. It's kind of similar to Chromagus in a way. And the real question, at least the comparison people have been making with this, is comparing it to Sprint, or a card like that, right? Noxious, what do you think?
Which one? The
Thistle Tea.
Thistle Tea?
Yeah, Thistle Tea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I see this card being used if Control Rogue becomes a thing, right? Where you're like, oh well, the only things left in my deck are big threats. I mean, how you manage to guarantee that is beyond me. But if you do, then sure. It's one of those things where it's a blank. If you top deck it, then like Sprint will give you a clutch sap. This won't most of the time. So
Give you
it's
3
not gonna
saps,
save
dude.
you. But if you're like if you're stable already on board, um, and you have like a free turn, it's kind of like Nourish, right? Like we have a free turn to Nourish, you're just feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's like it could be used the exact same manner. A lot of people say, well, you don't want 3 backstabs, you don't want 3 preps, but like ultimately, I'd probably be okay with those, depending on what my deck consists of. Like if I'm digging for a combo, probably not. I guess if you're in fatigue, it's pretty good with gang up. Like you gang up something that you want, and then you just Thistle Tea it, and you get like 3 copies in your hand, 2 in your deck. So that could be fine. But Control Rogue probably has to exist for this to be good, I think. Or some kind of fetch, put this on top of your library thing.
Yeah.
That could also work.
Okay, Amnesiac, what about you?
I mean, the interesting part of this card is probably that it puts more than 30 cards into your overall deck.
Yeah.
Like that. So like if Control Rogue is a thing, maybe this type of card is really good in it. I don't think it's actually that similar to Sprint, because you Sprint generally when you want options, and this card doesn't give you options. It gives you just straight up like kind of raw stuff to do theoretically in your control deck. But this card is very slow, and it, like I said, it doesn't really get you like extra options when you use it. Like you're kind of still gonna have the same hand you had before, so your hand kind of had to be good going into the turn. You need like 3 preparations or something, in which case you kind of defeat the purpose. But yeah, I don't know. I think Control Rogue is the only type of deck that would really want this. This doesn't really make any sense in like a more tempo-based rogue deck, I don't think.
Okay. Ray?
For the 6 mana draw card thing.
Copy 2.
Yeah, I don't expect this to see much play, to be honest. It's like Rogue already has Sprint, and this kind of serves the same purpose in a lot of ways, and just being a big expensive spell that draws you stuff. This doesn't get, like Amnesiac said, this doesn't get you combos like Sprint does, but with Blade Flurry being out of the game, you don't really get those anyway. Yeah, as far as just a value spell, I think it's a little too slow. You'd rather just play a high value minion, like a Cairn or something. You can Raptor anyway. Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to Warlock cards here. We got 3 of them here. Just kind of show them all at once. First one that we're going to be looking at is a 1 mana drop, 1/1 body, Possessed Villager. Common card, Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Shadow Priest. This art is like, there's something about that art that just like, I just crack up every time I see it. But whose turn is it? Ray, is your turn this one, I think?
I'll take it, sure.
Yeah.
Possessed Villager is, I never thought they would make a card like this again. I never thought they would make like a 1 mana Warlock board presence card, but they've accepted their Lord and Savior Zoo, and yeah, this card's sick. Get a lot of play, and expect to play against this a lot in the days to come.
Okay, Noxious.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thought. Another one drop playable card for Warlocks. I guess the only thing that would have made it really busted is if it were a demon, and I'm happy they didn't go there. So.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah, the third 1 drop for Warlocks.
I don't know, man. It's just like Abusive
crazy,
Sergeant
man.
not being changed makes this card just like I don't know. I guess Abusive Sergeant just makes it annoying. Just makes it aggravating again, right? It's like the whole creeper situation, but we'll see.
All right, Amnesiac, what do you think?
I'm wondering if you guys think this card is better than Flame Imp or Voidwalker, or if it's just gonna kind of go in and like you lower the curve a bit. Like I don't think it's better than those cards, but I can definitely see it going in along with those, and then you you can lower your curve more, and then you just tap more against control, which is like always good.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see this card seeing play. I don't think it's better than the current options, but like I've kind of been noticing, like I've been playing a good amount of Zoo the past couple of weeks, and like getting your one drop isn't as important anymore. It doesn't feel like, but you also don't get it nearly as often as compared to the old list that played like Squired. They played like Shield Bearer way
Yeah.
back in the day and all that. And so I think I can definitely see this card seeing play. I think in like a slower metagame when you want less one drops, I think this is the one drop to go. But in a metagame where you want a lower curve, this probably makes the cut.
Okay. Spreading Madness, 3-mana spell, rare. This is like the Warlock Mad Bomber here. Deal 9 damage, randomly split among all characters. All right, is this card good, Noxious?
In aggro, it might just be busted just because your minions don't live, and if they do, you've already won, so it doesn't matter. But like if the opponent is scrambling to kill your stuff, and there's a point where you're just really close to lethal and you've got no option, Dark Bomb's gone, you keep Soulfire, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a world in which this just gets you a free lethal at some point, and I wouldn't be surprised if it just saw play in hyper aggro
Yeah.
Warlock. A lot of people look at it like, oh, it's gonna like mad bomber your face, but no, it's not statistically. But if it does, then too bad for you for playing aggro. But it'll just give you free wins sometimes. It's cool.
Wow, okay.
And aggravating.
Amnesiac?
I mean, to me, on average, just like with that line of thinking where you just like don't have a board and they used all their resources and they don't really have a board, like on average, it still does only 5 to 4 to them, and that's like a totally empty board. And I think with your line of thinking, they're gonna have a minion generally. You're gonna have like lost the board. You're just trying to burn them out.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's it gonna deal on average? If they have a 3 health minion, you're gonna kill their 3/3, deal 3 to them, deal 3. Just play as a control card, just because like there's a serious chance you just lose the game, and on average it's not even that good versus like a 2 minion spread or versus like 1 big minion.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
Yeah,
like it sounds like just worse Soulfire to me. Like maybe you really need that extra burn, but like I don't know. This card like Burn Warlock would have to be really hurting for the 30th card if they wanted to play this, I think.
Would you play Nightblade over this?
Maybe. Nightblade's not that bad.
Yeah,
Wolf
I know,
Rider,
but
man.
I'm just like, it's kind of like, are we there yet?
Oh, we're definitely playing Wolf
Yeah,
Rider.
Wolf Rider over this. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
I think.
For sure.
All right, Ray?
No question.
I mean, this one can hit your side of the board, so I think the card is a little bit redundant when they already have a neutral minion that does the same thing to only your opponent's side of the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the thing with Spreading Madness is like if they have one minion, you have no minions. It's about like Hellfire on average with 3 mana. Yeah, like I said, Burn Warlock is the deck where this would make sense in, but with like Nerubian Egg leaving, it's not as good, and I am just not sure that deck is going to be lacking enough playables that it needs a card like this, but it definitely can have a pretty swingy effect, and if you lose the board significantly, it becomes pretty powerful, so maybe we do see it. It is like a strong effect for very little mana, so maybe it will see play. I don't know, but most likely won't.
Okay. Cho'Gall, 7 mana, 7/7 legendary. Battle cry. The next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. So there's another one of my favorite cards. I feel like it's going to be super good. Amnesiac, what do you think?
So the spells that come to mind that would be good to use with this are cards like Siphon Soul and like Shadow Flame. Like turn 7, you could just go like Cho'Gall, Shadow Flame. You take 4, but you clear their big board or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Warlock continues to get big spells to support this, it could be good, especially in like a Molten Giant deck where it's kind of harder to get like into good Molten Giant range because like you can manipulate your own life total that way. But this card is like super interesting. I think this is the type of card that just gets better support from like big spells and stuff. I don't know how good it is right now, and maybe it gets better with the last 50 cards or whatever they have to release. But this card is like super interesting, and even if it doesn't see play in this form in this like rotation, I think eventually it does.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Ray?
It's a pretty cool card. I think Siphon Soul definitely becomes a little bit better because of the big game hunter nerf. There'll be more big minions because of that, and Siphon gets better. I mean, there was a time when we saw a double Siphon in most handlock decks. So, outside of Siphon Soul, this card isn't as strong as it looks. If you're Shadow Flaming, then you're paying 4 life to play Twisting Nether and reducing the cost by 1, and you're using 2 cards. So that's not really a good interaction. If you're playing Hellfire, you're killing yourself. There's just, aside from Siphon Soul, there's just not a lot of great options with this card. So, especially with Dark Bomb rotating out, I just don't not seeing it right now. There would have to be more good Warlock spells played in order for the card to see play, but it's definitely solid with Siphon.
Noxious?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a dream of Doom combo decks working, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I mean, it might be a way to enable Moltons, right? Just like you're desperate, you're like 25. This is way too expensive. We just doom this board cycle, get my 2 Moltons, drop them both, and then die to kill command or whatever. But at least you tried. It's I think it's just too powerful not to be good at some point.
Yeah,
It's just
agree.
too good not to be completely insane at some point. So we'll see.
I mean,
think it still
Wild.
sees play
What do you
everywhere.
think of Wild?
Yeah,
You
Wild.
guys think Wild it would be added to Wild with Implosion and things like that?
Sure. But
7-mana card has to do a lot in that format.
yeah,
I
with
would
Doctor
expect
Boom being
no.
around, like
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you do gotta compare it to that.
you can
That
Siphon
makes
Soul him, I guess, though. But then you lose it to the Boombot, so
Like, I think Doctor
No.
Boom would be too slow for Wild. That's my perspective on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
these days,
Wow.
yeah, maybe.
That's yeah. That'd be
With the
huge.
shift, with the new cards coming out, I think that might be true.
Yeah. Amnesia. You think Doctor Boom would be too slow?
It's very possible.
Okay.
That card,
Huh.
yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I haven't thought about Wild. I'm not gonna be playing Wild. I don't think.
Okay. All right, let's move on to priest cards. So 2 mana spell, Embrace the Shadow. Epic card. This turn, your healing effect deals damage instead. So kind of similar to Aconite Soul Priest. Let's see, who's first on this one? I think Reynad. I think you're first on this one.
Yeah, it has a lot of powerful things that it can do, but it's a lot of card disadvantage to eat. So you'd have to make up for that with a lot of card draw, which I'm not sure Priest really has access to right now. So overall, I don't expect this to see much play, but it's the kind of card that might make like this is the kind of spell that would make a broken turn 4 kill in Wild at some point. So yeah, I don't know. This is like the kind of card that would be like I don't know. Maybe there'll be like a 2-mana card that says like destroy all your own minions, heal to full health, or something like that for 2 mana. And this would combo with that and just deal 30.
Oh, wow.
Like I don't know.
That'd
I've
be
seen
crazy.
cards like this in Magic, and these are like
Yeah.
the kinds of cards
Yeah.
that are stone unplayable until they break the game. So we'll see.
I think most
Right now, I don't think they'll see much play.
Most people's first thoughts are like Valen's Prophet, right? Just figuring out a way to combo with that, and I don't know,
Sure.
Emperor and that sort of
Wow.
thing. But I think that's what people's first thoughts are.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That could work.
Noxious. What do you think?
I don't know. It's like the Alchemy of Corrupted Healbot, right? Like, because in
Oh,
the new set, there's
okay.
like a 5 and a 6/6 that heals them. So there might be a world in which you can play it and it doesn't die on 5
Oh,
because they
that's
can't
true.
answer it, and then you just find a way to trade it off. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, I mean, you're pretty well off if it works out. That's 8 damage to face. One of the things it does too is like for those really janky aggro priest decks that I just run all the time, it gives
Yeah.
me a way to get Akanai without running Akanai. Like I like Akanai Soul Priest in that deck, but sometimes it's just like it's good as a 4-drop, but I need the mana freed up for some plays,
Yeah.
and that kind of helps with that. So
Okay.
it makes you want to play Flash Heal and Aggro Priest.
Amnesiac?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much Priest is hurting for a third Akanai effect. I
Right.
don't really play Priest because I like winning.
Wow.
That
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it's gonna be necessary in like a control priest. So the only thing that comes to mind would be like a combo priest with Velens, and I haven't really done the math on how effective that would be if you put it all together. But yeah, I don't think this card's gonna be very good unless Burst Priest is just low key really really good. But I don't see that happening.
Mhm.
I could be wrong about that though.
Yeah, I mean, that's again combo priest. I think is the thing that people are talking about the most. But you have to draw cards to get combos, and priests can have a hard time doing that or drawing through their
Yeah.
entire deck. Okay, Shifting Shade. It's a 4-drop, 4/3 body, rare card. Death Rattle. Copy a card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. Noxious.
Yeah, it's the type of card I'll play as a replacement for Mind Games in Ren and Ren. And then,
You
like, if
play Mind
mid-range
Games?
priest becomes a thing and you're desperate for, well, if it's Ren and Ren, it's not a real deck.
Yeah.
It's like just about RNGs. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's all right in that, like, as a replacement for that. One of the things that this card does, which is funny, is give priests a 4-drop they want to play on turn 4 that doesn't throw away a way for them to clear the board.
Right.
Like, Alkana, you play on 4, you're pretty happy because you get the board, but ultimately, like, the opportunity cost of playing that 4-drop might just be the entire game if it goes wrong. So I don't know. It's hard to evaluate in a vacuum. I still think it's okay.
Okay, Amnesiac.
Yeah, I mean, in my limited priest experience, how the way I win is when I have like a lot more cards than my opponent, and I just get to use my options efficiently. And the way I lose is when I just run out of cards because I have to do all this stupid stuff to keep killing their minions because I'm gonna die, and then I have no initiative. But I don't know how much this card helps with that because you're getting a random card from their deck, and priest decks are generally pretty synergistic. Like you want to get a lot of 2-card combos off and stuff, and you want your cards to be working well.
Yeah.
And like a random card doesn't usually go all that well in a priest deck. So I don't think, but maybe just getting a card, and maybe if it like trades well with like the 4-drop of choice for like the next year or whatever, then it could be good as well. I don't think so though. I don't think this card is very good.
Yeah,
Well,
4 attack
I guess,
trading.
like,
That would be
On the
surprising.
upside, it sets up a really good Nova, right? Like against 6 health minions if those become played. Um,
You want to
like, I
invest
don't know
9
how
mana to
much.
kill their 6
Yeah,
health thing?
exactly.
No, but I mean, like, if you're gonna Nova anyway, and that ends up happening, if I don't know if Drew is gonna be around for that, um,
Hmm.
that
Okay.
to happen. But like, it's better than throwing an Alkani into Drew the Claw if you don't have like Lighter than Naru, because sometimes you just feel bad about it. But yeah, whatever. It's just hot air, right?
Yeah, Reynad, what do you think?
The best comparison is to Polluted Loot Hoarder, and that card's
Mm.
probably not going to be that great.
Okay.
So I just don't think this will quite make the cut. But I will say I think we skipped the Wisp card way back when, the
Oh, did
7 mana Drew.
Oh, you're right. The Savage Roar.
Oh, the worst
Of-
Anixia.
Oh, did we? Oh, let's see. I think
They're
I
really
remember.
bad in Nixia, yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay, we're gonna
How
we'll
that
come back to
happen?
that
You
one.
know what though? Like, if I don't get a Druid Legendary that just blows up Wisps,
Mhm.
to deal damage to my opponent, then I'm not happy.
I know.
It's
That's
like
what
there's
I'm
no
expecting, too.
explanation for Dark Whispers
Yeah,
and this if there's no Wisp synergy in Druid. Like this needs to happen.
that's true. Definitely true. Okay, let me bring up the. Actually, we'll get to the wisp at the very end. Yeah, it's good.
Sure.
Good catch, Ray. Jeez. All right, next up we've got mage cards here. 3 mana, Twilight Flamecaller, 2/2 body, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. That's a battle cry. Okay, what do you think of this card? I mean, lots of stuff with one hit point kind of gone now, but it might be nice to still have this Amnesiac.
I mean, this card doesn't see play in Freeze Mage because Explosive Sheep didn't really see play in Freeze Mage, and
Sure.
Explosive Sheep I think is better than this card. I'm like maybe this makes the cut in like a Reno Mage or something because that deck kind of really hurts for slots towards the end, and like this card's not bad.
Sure.
I don't know. It feels like it just doesn't feel very high impact. Like it's gonna be Iron Forge Rifleman with like slight upside a lot of the time. I feel like Mage just has like more powerful options than that. Yeah, no, this card seems too weak to see play unless just 1/1 decks or like the Bane of Mage, which doesn't really make much sense. Mage has pretty good ways to deal with that type of stuff.
Right. Okay. Reynad?
Probably don't see too much play, but cards like I've played a lot of Arcane Explosion, and the card is a lot more underrated than people think. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some random deck where we end up seeing this guy. But yeah, as of right now, probably not quite good enough to make the cut.
Okay. Noxious?
Yeah, I said the same thing about Shadow Word Horror, right? Like, the card was printed to deal with Muster for Battle and Implosion, without having to resort to playing Tempo Mage.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's pretty much the intent. Not that it was even a problem for those other decks, but I think that was what they wanted to do with it. And then they decided last minute, well, we're gonna rotate everything out, and so we have these cards left that, like Ravaging Ghoul, that will impact Wild possibly a bit, but not quite standard. We'll see though. Like who knows? Maybe this ends up just being insane.
Yeah. Okay, 4 mana, 2/4 body, Mad Frost Mage, rare. After you cast a spell, freeze a random enemy. So kind of like the freeze version of Flame Waker in a weird way. Let's start with Reynad. Start with what are your thoughts on this card?
For Frostmage.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. The thing is, it freezes unfrozen characters, so you can
Yep.
like once one thing's frozen, you freeze the other thing 100%.
Oh,
And the
okay.
thing- Yeah, so it's because of that. It's the kind of card where like, let's imagine a scenario where you play it like turn 6, turn 7, or whatever. You freeze something, trade into something. So they're left with no minion damage, so they have to kill it with a spell, but they just don't have the spell to kill it.
Right.
So
Right.
how do they win the game? Like the game just ends because of your 4 mana card, right? Because they'll never attack again. So I don't know. It card seems pretty strong to me, especially with Water Elemental, because Water Elemental hits them in the face, then you're guaranteed to freeze minions. Like it's not a card you really want to play on curve, but it's not unplayable, and I think I wouldn't be surprised to see this in Flame Waker decks.
Okay. Noxious?
Yeah, I had the same thought initially when I saw it, and they didn't clarify that it was only non-frozens. I was really underwhelmed. But then, as soon as they specified that it was only unfrozen characters,
Yeah.
the card just went from pretty trashy to basically like disgusting in many scenarios. And I still think like you'll have to see it in action to really feel it. But I've seen cards like Stasis decks are the worst fucking cancer you could play against in Magic, and this basically feels like that. Because it's not like Blizzard where they don't have any more blizzards. No, like the dude's got you frozen, and you just like Kabbalist Tome into more spells, and you're frozen for the entire game, and you can't do anything, which is fine, possibly, but it might end up just being a really toxic experience for some new players that don't know how to handle it. I want to like that's why the stat line is so small. I think
Yeah, it's
that
pretty
is
small
pretty much it.
body wise.
Yeah.
So
But if it's refined, like that deck is gonna be so insane.
okay.
Gosh.
Amnesiac?
Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it could not like double freeze stuff. That makes it a lot better. I think this could definitely see play as like a one of in Tempo Mage. I don't really think this card would be too good as a two of because it's like you said, it's not really like it's not a card you want to play on turn 4, and that deck doesn't have like that many free slots. But I think as like a utility drop to lock people out of the game and stuff, and then you probably play Water Elemental and Mage now because there's no Shredder, which was like the only real competition. So I think like this with Water Ellie, like maybe you just go like Water Ellie on 4, and then you go Flame Waker. Maybe Ice Lance makes its way into this freeze deck. So you Ice Lance one thing, you hit them in the face, you freeze their other minion, then they probably lose. So I think as like a one of this deck, this card could be like really good in Tempo Mage. I don't. Maybe it's like a two of, but I would be surprised to see that many utility 2/4s go into one deck. But yeah, now that I realize that it will freeze things, this card actually seems pretty good.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, Iceland's extremely good.
Yeah.
Okay, more mages. This is like the week they came out with 4 of them. Everybody else got 2 cards. They got 4. Servant of Yogg-Saron, Battle Cry, 5. It's a 5-drop. Sorry, a 5/4 body. Battle Cry cast a random spell that costs 5 or less. Targets chosen randomly. Okay. Let's see who's first here. Oh, Noxious, you're first here.
I don't have anything to say. I don't even know what can happen. It's just like the only
I think
thing
Trump had like a spreadsheet of all the different possibilities.
Yeah,
or
sure.
that sort of
Like,
thing.
I mean, if Kabbalist Tome happens, like if it can actually play a spell that doesn't target, then you can get just out of nowhere an Arcane Intellect.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is insanely broken. And then if you get Kabbalist Tome, you just literally make the opponent smash his keyboard. But like the cases where you just Dragon's Breath your own 5/4, it's just like, oh well, I guess I shouldn't have played that.
Yeah.
Just feels pretty weird, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Amnesia, too crazy? Or
I mean, it's just about the averages with a card like this, because obviously its range is too big to key in on like specific things. But I don't think I would be comfortable playing a card like this unless the format just got to be where everyone played this card, so you had to play this card. But like, there's so much like chance to lose the game that I don't think I would play this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's worth it for me.
yeah, targets chosen randomly, I think, is very, very scary. Reynad, how about you?
Like it's probably not good enough to see play, but the scary thing is it might be. And like in that world where this card is good enough to see play, that's a very big problem. Like I would have much preferred them to remove the cost 5 or less text, just have it be any spell in the game and make it cost like 8 mana or something absurd.
I agree.
It's like so the plebs could play it because it's like a fun wacky card, but we don't have to worry about like this making its way into
The World
like
Championships.
instructed tempo.
Like
mage.
Ram Wrangler,
Yeah.
right? Like Ram Wrangler level
That'd be
bullshit because it's
terrible.
playable enough that it's just.
Thank God that card never caught on.
I know
by the
that
way.
was really close.
Let's
to
hope it
catching on.
doesn't though, because like we have no
Yeah.
clue what's coming up, right? Like maybe it just does somehow. Like it finds a way.
It's not that far.
I don't think
from
it's
being
rotating
good.
out, right?
Yeah, it's
It's in TGT,
yeah, it's in TGT.
unless I'm mistaken. So yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
let's move on. 6 mana, 5/5 body, faceless summoner, common card, battle cry, summon a random 3-cost minion. Amnesia, what do you think?
I think this card's like better than Piloted Sky Golem because it doesn't have the problem with like Sky Golem and Karen where they just don't trade into it and then you kind of fall behind.
Mhm.
I mean, it really depends how much Mage is going to need a 6-drop because right now Tempo Mage just doesn't play 6-drops and that deck functions fine without them. It usually just goes like 5-drop and then Tempo 1-drop like Azu Drake Arcane Blast or something.
Yeah.
I think if Mage needs a 6-drop, this is probably going to be the best one to play. This card seems pretty strong, but I don't know how important that's going to be for the deck. So I think that's going to be what dictates play, not like the overall card strength.
Okay, Ray?
It was pretty nuts. I like that there's finally a 6-mana minion that's just good because of its stats. Because Boulder Fist wasn't really ever quite there, and it's nice to just play a minion because it's big, not because it has Sylvanas Death Rattle or like Broken Emperor end of turn effect. So, and yeah, the fact that this RNG happens on turn 6 instead of like turn 4 with Shredder. On top of that, once you factor in the fact that the 3-drops don't have that big of a range as far as their stats. Means that this card's like pretty solid and like there's I like it. I think I'm okay with this kind of RNG happening on turn 6, and yeah, I look forward to just a big pile of stats being played for once.
Yeah, definitely. Noxious, how about you?
Well, I revealed the card. It's basically,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's a challenger for mages, except there's no control over the outcome. But it's like I'd be surprised if that wasn't just auto include. I mean,
Yeah,
it depends
I kinda
really the
feel that way
archetypes
too.
because it's funny how you want to play it everywhere just because it's straight up good, but Mage has so many archetypes that just don't need that. That like, yeah, sure, I could see myself playing a Mage that's more control based that doesn't want to play a tempo 6-drop, instead just opts to freeze me nonstop.
Yeah.
So it's nice that it's a class card, right? Like Doctor Boom, had it been a class card, would have been fine, and if it had like, I think it would have been okay in Mage. But the fact that like if this guy had been neutral, I would have actually just rage quit. So good
Yes,
decision
this
there,
would
I
have
think.
probably been an auto ad too, yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to Hunter, and then we'll come back to the Wisp. 3 mana, 4/2 body, Worgen Stalker, Battle Cry, give all minions with Death Rattle in your hand, +1/+1. It's a rare card. Okay, Hunter. Let's see. Reynad, we're back to you.
Yeah, it's an interesting effect. I don't know how many good playable Death Rattles are going to still be in the game after
They've been
the
adding some.
rotation.
They've been adding some recently, but
Yeah, this is at its best of like, I don't even know, like cheap Death Rattles, like Web Spinner and stuff, but you'd be playing those before this card. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's an interesting effect. I'm not sure if it's good enough to see play. It's unfortunate that it's not a beast itself.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll quite make the cut, would be my guess. But maybe in Wild, this kind of effect could be really strong.
yeah. Nox?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not like if I ever decide not to touch Wild, it's gonna be because of this. I have a
Okay.
really weird feeling that this is a little bit more powerful than it looks. 'Cause it looks like a really bad 3-drop, but the follow-ups for the class that it belongs to really like the fact that they get to call the Wild so much more reliably, because of this card is pretty scary. And I don't know, it turns that garbage, like garbage, that okay, actually pretty okay infested Tauren into a complete powerhouse that just creeps me out. Especially in a while when you've got Shredder as another alternative for 4, so maybe you cut all the beasts and you just play like Paladin Shredder on 4, cut the Houndmasters, and your mid range is just Death Rattle based, and you curve all the way up, and then you just curve a little higher to get to Call the Wild, and you just win every time.
Yeah, in Wild it would
It's
be
scary to
pretty
me.
insane. I mean, almost
Yeah.
1 through 5, you could have Death Rattle 6. 1 through 6, you could have Death Rattle drops, right?
Sure.
And or Death, yeah, and it's definitely buffing up a good number of cards. And Amnesiac, how about you?
Yeah, I mean Hunter is really good 3-drops as is with Eagle Horn Bow and Animal Companion,
Yeah.
so I don't think this card really muscles those out because I don't really see like which death rattles you're really looking to buff. There aren't that many good ones now that Nax is rotating out. It's cool, like it's interesting design. It'll definitely see play in Wild if people want to play Wild, but yeah, I don't think this makes the cut in Constructed.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right, 5 mana, 6/5 beast, Princess Huhiran. Battle Cry, trigger a friendly minion's Death Rattle effect immediately. So kind of like Feign Death. All right, Noxious, this is another Savannah High main for Hunter at 5, or is this something different?
Well, it's the same reason like the Worgen Hunter would make me really scared of Hunter in Wild. Like this kind of follows the same reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Like in no in Standard, if Infested Tauren doesn't see play because it's just considered just overall unplayable.
Yeah.
I think the initiative you get from the 2/2 afterwards is still worth quite a bit.
Hmm.
If you can play the 4 drop that gives you a 5/5, and it like they end up being okay somehow, then yes, this is pretty insane. But even if you play super late game on some of the smaller minions, I'm sure you'll find a spot for it. Like, I'd be surprised if there wasn't at least one death rattle you'd be happy to play beyond high main with this guy. And even just as a 5 and a 6/5, like, you kill Druid of the Claw, you have 1 health left over. Like, your turn.
Yeah. I mean,
I play this vanilla sometimes even.
playing on turn 7 after high main, right? And you're looking
Sure,
pretty good
why
too.
not?
Pretty
Or
awesome.
even turn 5 on 2-0, and you just let them deal
Yeah,
with it.
exactly. It's 6/5. It's pretty darn good. Amnesiac, how about you?
Yeah, I think this card's really good. Like Stranglethorn Tiger is already good in Hunter, and this is like got a lot of upside, and it's still got like the Stranglethorn Tiger body and stuff. It trades with Druid of the Claw, which not really many 5-drops do cleanly.
Mhm.
And then in addition, it has just like that blow up potential. Like playing this on turn 7 after you high main is like it's ridiculous. Like that's really hard to come back from. So in addition to that, it's just like good to play on turn 5. And Hunter historically hasn't had that strong of 5-drops. Like what do they play? They play Sledge Belcher and Loatheb usually. Like
Yep.
I think this card beats like those are both gone. So you need a 5-drop. So I think like this and Stranglethorn Tiger are going to be the big ones. And I think this is better than Stranglethorn Tiger. So yeah, I like this card a lot. I think this card will definitely see play if Hunter's playable.
Ray?
I think this card's pretty unplayable. There's like
Really?
I think Stranglethorn Tiger is like the best card to compare it to, and that card's like better by a pretty big margin. I think most games it's going to be about curving out correctly with Hunter, and I don't. I think it's going to be an extremely unlikely scenario where I play my 6-mana high main, and A, it needs to not get killed, and B, I would need to not have won the game anyway for this card to see play, right? Because if I play my high main and then I use Princess on it, that's a game I was winning anyway with just
Right.
high main alone, which is like 95% of the time that high main gets to attack, then I don't think this card's Battlecry made a difference at all. Whereas in a game where I'm like losing board and I need the stealth to cheese damage to win the game, I think it's going to be a lot better. So I just don't see a scenario where this card sees play. I think the stats are worse than Pit Fighter. It's just not that good, in my opinion. But that's
Interesting.
saying
So
a
the occasional
lot.
upside is not worth it. Like, because I can't imagine the hunters would run Polluted Hoarder, right? Like, because if that's played, then you draw a card on the Battlecry instead of, like if you play the Worgen on 3 and you have like your 4 drops,
Yeah.
Tauren, Hoarder, let's say,
Right.
got this guy on 5.
Thinking about playing on curve, yeah.
I don't know.
What death rattles are you triggering before it, right?
Well, the card draw and
He's talking
the
about
2/2
polluted loot order, but that's like you're gonna
that's
replace
really
like
hard to
your
play, but it's card draw. Like that's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. It's just
yeah.
extra draw.
Okay.
I probably
All
wouldn't
right.
play
Well,
that,
we'll have
though,
to see on
in
this
Hunter.
one. Yeah, I thought my initial impression was it's going to be good, but hunters do like to play on curve or need to play on curve to stay ahead. So we'll have to see. Okay, last card. We'll talk about the Wisp that we skipped over. And it's a druid card, obviously. 7-mana spell, Wisp of the Old Gods. Choose one. Summon 7/1/1 Wisps, or give your minions +2/+2. And it's an epic card. Amnesiac, why don't you start?
I mean, if you compare this card without the option, like if you just compare the board flood to Onyxia, you're basically just foregoing a 2-mana 8/8,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't do that. So then you look at the other option, which is 7 mana, give +2/+2, and there's already a card that does that, flood based class, which is Shaman, and then it has more upside because you can play it with flood based cards, Murlocs. This card seems fun, but I don't think this card sees any play.
Okay. Ray?
Yeah, probably won't see play, but it is another bloodlust type of thing in a class that's traditionally a little bit better at flooding the board. So, if you want more than Savage Roar and Soul the Forest, then this is another option. Probably won't see play though. Yeah.
Okay. Noxious?
Yeah, the thing is, like, I see a world where people play Force of Nature for the 2/2s, and when that happens, somehow like Druid ends up pulling it off. Then yeah, this card actually has a decent upside. But would I play that over War? No, you'd have to play a third one, and I don't know that I would even like even bother.
Yeah.
Just seems so. It's like you have scenarios on 9 that does the same thing, or Onyxia. So the only difference is you get to pick one of both for 2 mana less, and you lose the big body that comes with it. Yeah, I don't know. Don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely interesting that they added a 6 that does, like we already have Dark Whispers that fills 6 of them, and now we have one that gives us 7 of them. So
Well, maybe they can play them together, right? You eventually run them out of 1 damage AoEs.
yeah,
That's the
what
idea. You just
yeah.
kind of play you play Force Amnesia on 5, Dark Whispers on 6, you draw this on 7, then you roar them on 8 because they got nothing. That's the game plan.
More expensive muster, quartermaster type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
All right, well that's it for the cards, guys, and I don't think we're going to be doing any fewer Q&A. I'm actually out of time too. I got to get going, but this was amazing. There's definitely great talks, lots of stuff to talk about, and hopefully everybody that's been watching enjoyed it. Amnesiac, pleasure having you on, man. It's always great getting your insight on cards and just especially initially with these because you're such a good deck builder as well as a great player. Hope you had fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. You want to do any shout outs before you go?
Yeah, I guess I could plug my Twitch, twitch.tv/amnesia_sc. I've been trying to stream more. If you would go follow me, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely go follow that guy. Noxious, shout outs?
Yeah. Complexity as usual, and obviously you for putting this together last minute with the Nerfs and whatnot. It was a pretty cool episode. And of course the devs, I think again, despite the fact that the Nerfs weren't what we were expecting, the card design for World Gods I'm still enjoying, despite everything, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with. I want to see whether or not we're getting like everything tomorrow.
I think we are.
That's kind of what we're all waiting for,
yeah.
right?
It's a lot of cards too, so it's gonna be interesting how they even just show them all to us. Ray, shout outs?
Shout out to sponsors G2A Twitch. Shout out to you guys for being on the show and Chris for producing it. It was good. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, shout out to Blizzard for a really good expansion. Like the Whispers of the Old Gods looks really good. I did a great job with the set and with standard. I'm unhappy with like a couple of the. I'm unhappy with like them not nerfing Doomhammer, and I'm unhappy with the way they nerf Juggler, but all in all, I don't think there was a scenario where I was 100% happy with everything. So, yeah, they did a pretty good job, and looking forward to playing with the new set.
Yeah. And I'll just round things out. Thanks to the 3 of you guys. Awesome show today again. All the viewers for watching. VODs will be on youtube.com/ChanManV shortly after, probably a little bit later than normal, just because I had to get going here. And then I'll come back tonight and do it. And, of course, audios will be available on iTunes. Be sure to leave reviews and all that good stuff on iTunes because it really helps out just the podcast aspect of it. I do want to give a shout out to our patrons, a few of them: Chell, Arn Wolden, Peyton Duke, Shaden Sherman, Koji Tsutsumi, Jacob, Sebastian, Lucas Capdeville, and Paul Hatchman. Thank you so much for supporting, and we'll start doing this too during the shows, just giving a shout out to some of the patrons. And you can become a patron at patreon.com/valuetown. Big shout out to Tempo Storm for sponsoring the show, of course, and yeah, I think next week, Ray, you're not going to be here. You're going to be here for a couple weeks, I believe, right? You can be traveling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, got a bunch of stuff coming up. We'll see, though.
Yeah.
I'll try to be.
So we'll have a lot of different things. I'm actually trying to have Kat from Reddit come on. So first time we'll ever have
that'd be cool.
an admin from any Reddit on my show, actually. So that could be kind of cool. Just discuss some things with her. Definitely look out for that. And tomorrow, again, we mentioned it. Big stream. It's going to be with Frodan, Ben Brode. Lots of show matches with devs and things going on. Probably going to reveal all the rest of the cards, 50 plus cards. So be sure to tune into that. That's going to be it for Value Town. So for Amnesiac, Noxious, Reynad, myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.
Take care.